Let's go to the conflict now in the Middle East, where Israel has ramped up strikes on Gaza ahead of potential ceasefire talks. It comes after Donald Trump has said he expects Hamas to respond to a proposed 60-day truce with Israel within 24 hours. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Strategic Analysis Australia Director Michael Shoebridge. Michael, always great to see you. Now, according to reports in Arab media, Hamas has given a positive response to this proposal. The terror group says it's still discussing the details, though, with other Palestinian factions. How likely do you think it is that this deal will go ahead? And what would it look like if it does, do you think? Would it mean that Hamas can remain in power?
Well, Caroline, you've picked up one of the key sticking points. I think there is a reasonable chance that a deal will go ahead in the next little while, and that looks like being something like a 60-day ceasefire with some words about negotiations to end the war as part of that, and then a drip feed of a very small number of remaining hostages released over weeks. But the two big sticking points: one, Hamas has a new hardline leader in Gaza, a guy called Is-al-Din al-Haddad. He's one of the last 7th of October attack planners. He wants to end the war on Hamas's terms, and Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, in his government, still want to end Hamas as an armed force that controls Gaza. And those two sticking points mean this could all still fall apart.
Yeah, you just don't see how those two sides are ever going to see eye to eye when the main objective going into this war was to defeat Hamas and obviously bring all the hostages back. And it just doesn't seem to be the case. But look, we'll see what happens. Donald Trump is set to host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Monday. Trump has already managed to secure a ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran. If he does somehow manage to pull off this 60-day truce or a deal between Israel and Hamas, what would that mean for his presidency?
I think it would be a great achievement, Caroline. Even anti-Trumpers would have to agree that setting back Iran's regional ambitions to dominate the Middle East and setting back its nuclear program is a real net positive, and it opens up other opportunities for rapprochement between Arab states and Israel, but not while Gaza is still happening. So a Gaza ceasefire and a path to end that conflict could cause some big political change, positive political change in the Middle East.
And surely,
so there is some hope around this.
Surely he'd have to be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize or something after that. But let's go to another conflict. Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have spoken over the phone for nearly an hour, according to Trump, only a day after the US froze the supply of some critical missiles to Ukraine. Now, Putin reportedly told Trump that he wants to settle the root causes of the conflict without backing down on his own goals. What do you think this means, Michael, for the war in Ukraine?
Well, there's no peace prize coming for Trump in Ukraine. Putin is very consistent. What he means by the root causes is why he's in this war. He wants to end it exactly as he proposed from the start, which is conquering whole chunks, if not all, of Ukraine, demilitarising any remaining chunk, and establishing Russia as the controller of the Ukrainian people after a horrific war. He doesn't want to take a step back. He's preparing new offensives. The timing of Trump pausing and reversing things like Patriot missiles that are so essential for protecting Ukrainian civilians from Russian missiles just before they have the conversation is only going to encourage Putin.
Well, this afternoon we learned that Russia has launched drone attacks on Kiev, so things aren't quietening down by any means. What will this mean for the next stage of the conflict?
Well, it encourages the Russian military to continue with their offensives against the Ukrainian military and the Ukrainian people. It'll put a lot of pressure on the Europeans to step up weapon supplies, but they can't replace things like the Patriot interceptors that are so vital for protecting Ukraine. So I think there'll be increasing pressure on Trump to release those vital defensive weapons to the Ukrainians, and we'll still see the Ukrainians being the most courageous and creative military in Europe.
Michael Shoebridge, always appreciate your insights. Thanks so much for your time.